Shake provides a couple of different ways to attach your shapes to motion trackers. One method is the entire shape is attached to a motion tracker, or you can attach each individual control point to a separate motion tracker. To see how this works, let's load ShakeScript 03. We'll click on the Load button, the pop-up down to Exercise Files, Chapter 13, and load ShakeScript 03. This has some preset tracking targets for you to play with, and the idea is that these are very easy prepared targets, so we don't have to waste time trying to get the image motion tracking to work with a genuine picture. This also has the tracker already done for you. We haven't had our class yet on motion trackers, but here there's a tracker attached to each one of those 3 control points. The key point here, we'll go back to frame 1, is that the top one is called Tracker 1, the second point is called Tracker 2, and the third one is called Tracker 3. We need to know the names for what we're about to do. So Tracker 1, Tracker 2, Tracker 3. Now let's add a RotoShape node. Make sure you're on the Image tab and click on RotoShapes. We'll put our tracking targets up. This will be the image you want your RotoShape to track to. We'll make one shape here, and let's make a second shape and put it on tracking point number 3. Because when we're attaching the entire shape to a tracking point, you can have multiple shapes in the same node. So we're going to demonstrate that here. So here's our first shape. To attach it to this point, we're going to say right mouse click, attach tracker to shape. We're going to attach tracker 1 to that. So I have attached the entire shape to tracker number 1, which is locked onto this point. Here's another shape. Again, we're putting the cursor on the transform so that we get the transform pop-up. Select attach tracker to shape, and that's going to be tracker number 3. Select. Okay, I have now attached this shape to tracker 1 and this shape to tracker 3. We can now play that. And you see how the shapes are now locked to those tracking points. The key is that those shapes are not rotating or scaling. Each shape is simply following the point on the screen. There are no transformations, rotate, scale, anything like that. To do that, we have to use the motion tracker node, which we will see in a later video. We'll stop this, return to frame 1. Now let's see how to attach individual control points to each of the tracking markers. Let's add a new RotoShape node. Select the Image tab, click on RotoShape. We'll put the tracking targets back in the view. Remember, these are just the images. This is the tracker that has the actual tracking data. So we'll select our RotoShape, our new RotoShape here. Our on-screen control points are enabled, and we're going to drop a point onto each one of the targets. This would be like if you wanted a shape to follow an image around the screen, like, for example, 4 corners of a monitor or something. Now, to attach each control point to an existing tracker, we select the control point and get the right pop-up menu that says Attach Tracker to Selected Points. So I want that to go to track 1. I'll select this point and attach him to tracker number 2, and then select this point to attach to tracker number 3. Remember, we already knew that our motion trackers were named Tracker 1, Tracker 2, Tracker 3. Now if I play this, the control points are now following their own separate motion tracker. What's happening is the shape is actually being redrawn every frame using the new control point positions. We'll stop that. If you want to remove a tracking point, all you have to do is select the one in question, right mouse pop up and say Remove Tracker Reference from Selected Points. So this point now goes back to its original position, and he does not move over the whole length of the shot, while the other 2 points, they keep following their motion trackers, and the shape is being redrawn frame after frame. So we'll stop this, delete these two rotoshape nodes, go back to frame 1. Now let's take a look at a different procedure where we don't have a motion tracker. In our first example, we already had motion tracker data and we just attached our shape to it. Now let's take a look at the case where you don't have any motion tracker data and you have to create it. To do that, let's actually delete the tracker that we had so all the tracking data is gone. Next, we'll add a roto node, roto shape here. Put our points back on the screen. Again, this is just a stand-in for an image that we want to track to. On-screen controls are enabled, so we'll just click ourselves a new roto point like this. So what we want to do is attach each one of these control points to a tracker, but the tracker does not exist yet, so we're going to ask Shake to make that for us. First, we select all the points, then right mouse click on the point and we say Create Tracker for selected points. That means we're actually going to create a motion tracker node that's already attached to these 3 points. We'll click on that, and look what Shake did. We now have a RotoShape 1 tracker, so it's actually named after the node that it was hooked to. We'll double click on that guy, and we can see that it has already put in all 3 trackers, but there's no data with them yet. All we have to do to create the data is click on the Tracker button. Now, we've not yet had our motion tracker class, so we'll learn more about motion tracking later, but as you can see, this is a piece of cake. We now have tracking data for all 3 tracking points, and they are all connected to the control points of the RotoShape 1 node. To see that, we'll go back to frame 1, switch over to the RotoShape node, and as I play the animation, you can see the control points are actually moving with our tracking points. And there you have it. In this movie, we took a look at motion tracking with our shapes. The first case, we attached an entire shape to an existing motion tracker. There was no rotating or scaling, no transformations, just the shape simply followed the tracker around the screen. We then saw how to attach all the control points of a shape to individual trackers. Then the control points would be moving across the screen, redrawing the shape frame by frame. And in the last case, we saw how to take a roto shape that had no tracking data and actually create a tracker for the control points of that shape.